as well as course substitutes and prerequisite waivers and what those are, as well as opportunities at SCAD. And then this is going to be very text heavy, I want to say. So, of course, if there's any questions or clarifications, I'll address them at the end. A lot of this can be difficult to kind of explain to someone who might not know anything about SCAD. I've been doing this for a long time, so it was kind of hard to look at this like a clean slate. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope I'm explaining it in the best way possible for you guys to digest. So yeah, let's get started. Firstly, I'm going to talk about choosing your major and what to kind of like how to make sure that you're in the correct one for concepts. So my main thing is choose your major based off the career that you want to go into. I'm going to use a lot of examples to try and make things a little bit easier to digest. So an example for this is if you want to be a visual development artist for animation, but you're looking at that there's illustration track for concepts for animation games, but then there's also an animation track, which is basically similar. Which one do you want to pick? You want to pick the animation route because you want to go into animation. You don't want to go into illustration, if you get the drift. A little bit more in depth about that is when you end up choosing your major, you want to choose a major that's not only best for your career path, but the best way to network and meet the right people. You don't want to start networking and start being in classes where the peers around you are going to go into very different career paths. So if you take the illustration route for concept art, you are most likely going to be surrounded by editorial people as well as like children's book and surface design. It's not going to be just concept art, basically. So network in the right fields. The people around you will potentially work with in the future. So once you pick the correct major, the people that you surround yourself with in your classroom and outside of it, you will most likely be working with them in the future. A lot of professors say that, and it is true. And it's kind of just great to know who to connect with early on. And you can even connect with your professors. So getting to know your professors in the industry, it is always great to not only after you pick your correct major to kind of get to know the professors who are teaching you. If you don't know, a lot of faculty at SCAD are still currently within the industry. So we have people like Jonathan Standing, who is part of animation, and he works on the Amazon's Prime series, The Boys. He did a lot of the concept work, and he is still currently in the industry. It's really cool. There's also Professor Cat. Professor Cat is a storyboard artist who works in game. She also does concept art on the side sometimes, and she is still currently in the industry and has a lot of good connections as well. So you want to make sure that you're networking in the right fields and the right major so that you can better help yourself in the end once you graduate from SCAD. Because a lot of the times, how people get creative careers basically is through just knowing the right people, having recommendations, and networking. Networking is going to be huge. Also, finding the correct career path within your major can also help you just find projects a lot faster. I'm going to go back to the example before, how if you would choose between illustration and animation, the illustration route is very isolating if you want to do concepts. The main takeaway is basically that if you want to do concept, you're going to be working in a team. You want to be able to have a lot of opportunities where you can work in a collaborative setting, and illustration can be very isolating for that. So finding the right major, whether that be in animation. I think there's also game. There's a game route for concept design. I want to say maybe two. But just finding the correct path so that you're able to form friendships and be more and put yourself out there in a way where you're able to find groups of people willing to create a project with you. In animation is just a really good example of this, just because there's a lot of indie projects that happen, and there's a lot of recruiting that happens within Monty. If you have ever been to Montgomery Hall, one of the academic buildings, you'll be able to see there's bulletin boards on literally every single floor where there's flyers that are listed out asking if anyone's interested in joining their crew for concept art, visual development, background illustrations, stuff like that. So that is one of the ways how choosing your major in the correct area can really help you with networking as well as being in the greatest email blast ever. So with every major, you will have a success advisor, and this success advisor will send out events and portfolio reviews whenever it's related to your major. So this can be good and bad. This can be good because if you are in the correct, or if you're in a major that's correctly geared towards your end goal career wise, you will be able to get opportunities like portfolio reviews and events easier than it is when you're not in the correct major, I guess. I'm gonna use illustration and animation again as an example. But there is SCAD Animation Studios. And if you don't know what that is, SCAD Animation Studios is an in-house studio that SCAD has where they send out applications to SCAD students, and basically you apply to become part of the next project. This project can be film, like animation, short film, or it can be game, which is pretty new. But most of the times that email only goes out to animation students. So it is a little harder to get all that information unless you know someone who's able to forward it to you, or if you're willing to go to the animation town halls, which I believe they happen every quarter. However, with that being said, it's not too necessary. You can always just reach out and ask people to send you stuff. I know game majors were actually not forwarded the email for Avalanche Software. If you don't know what Avalanche Software is, they're a game company that made the oh my god, I forgot what it's called. But the Harry Potter game, the newest one, they made that one, and they came like a few days ago recently. So the game majors didn't get that email, even though they are a part of game. However, it was for like illustration and animation students for concepts. So kind of like just choosing the right major will allow you to get a little bit more opportunities through your success advisor. Also, if you don't know who the person on the bottom in the image is, that's Brandon Williams. He's an animation advisor. I would also just recommend reaching out to advisors. If you don't want to talk to the one that you have been assigned, I believe it is all right to reach out to different success advisors just to get like their input on stuff. I don't see any harm in doing that. They might be annoyed, but like it is their job at the end of the day, so don't ever feel guilty about asking for like feedback or asking if they want to check out your resume or your portfolio and things like that. But also SCAD kind of pushes down your throat that you need to choose a major and you need to stick with it. However, I'm gonna say after like all the things that I've just said, at the end of the day, it does not matter, because at the end of the day, the industry, depending on whichever one you want to go into, does not take into account what you've studied. They don't care what is on your certificate whenever you graduate, because your portfolio is what matters. You want to make sure your working collaboration experience speaks for itself. So you want to maximize your time at SCAD by being able to create great resume builders and portfolio websites, as well as just upgrading your silent resume. If you don't know what a silent resume is, it is basically this thing that I guess the experience that you leave behind whenever you work with a group of people. So let's say you're in class and you notice this one person who is always being an asshole to the teacher. Not great. Does not take critique correctly. Can't like improve. Only thinks about themselves. Their silent resume is very bad already. Your like view of them is negative, and you probably don't want to work with them in the future. That is your silent resume. You want to make sure your silent resume is great. The industry is very small once you graduate, so you want to make sure that whenever people do talk about you, or if they find out information about you from past people that you've worked with, all that information is crisp and clean. And even if you're stuck in the quote unquote wrong major, there are ways that you're able to navigate your way through your classes that your career planner is saying that you need to take, but you don't want to take. So, if you're stuck too far into your major, let me show you ways to get around some of those horrible classes. These are where course substitutions and prerequisite waivers come in handy. Yay! If you don't know what these things are, SCAD does not tell you that these exist straight up, which kind of sucks. But course substitutions basically allow you to kind of just substitute one class for another, and prerequisite waivers are they kind of just like allow you to take an advanced class without taking the class that's previous to it. Let me explain that a little bit better. But these are what these look like. So this is a prerequisite waiver. These are all found online. I'll show you where in just a second. But let me explain kind of like a better way of what these technically are. This is a lot of text, but prerequisite waivers, let's say you're a watercolor person, like you are super good at it and you know what you're doing. However, your major is, or your degree planner is saying that you need to take this beginner level watercolor class before you can even take the next class. And when it comes down to registration times and choosing your next classes for your next quarter, you're not allowed to take that more advanced watercolor class because you haven't taken the beginner one. So the prerequisite waiver will allow you to get out of the beginner level class and just immediately take the advanced watercolor class instead. And without that, without this being approved, you won't be able to register for it, if that makes sense. But this basically helps you get out of classes, kind of, and advance just a little bit quicker. And then there's a course substitution waivers. These all, I mean, both of them are online, but like course substitutions are, another example. So let's say your illustration concept art, but you have a class in your degree planner, and this is real, where you need to take a illustration class for books. However, illustration for books does not make sense for what you want to do and what you want to put in your portfolio. So you found a class that's in, let's say, CEQA, where it's props and environments, and you're learning how to do prop designs. You want to take that class instead of this book illustration class. So this is what you'll fill out for that. It'll allow you to basically swap out one class for another, so that you'll still have the credit, and it'll say that you took this book illustration class, but in reality, you were able to take this class, this prop class that was more relevant to your field. So yeah, these are both waivers are pretty hefty to fill out. However, it is not as scary as it looks, or it's not as detailed as it looks, I guess. But yeah, you can find these in your MySCAD. On your resources tab, there is a search engine on your right where it's SCAD student forums, and you basically will just type in prerequisite waiver or substitution, and you'll be able to find them quickly. How to fill them out, though, is another thing. So sorry, everything is very text heavy. However, it was kind of hard to add in images because they were just text as well. So how do you fill those two waivers out, and why you want to fill it out in this way, I guess. So both of those waivers, once you fill them out, will be going to whatever chair of whatever major you're trying to take a class for. So if you're filling it out, it'll most likely go to it'll go to whatever chair is being filled out. So you want to make sure you have a professional speaking tone. This isn't just one of your other professors, this is the chair. You want to make sure that you have a pretty clean and easy to read paragraph, I guess. Yeah, small paragraph. I have an example on the bottom. So you want a professional tone, and you want to show your work. This kind of applies to the prerequisite waiver mostly, because if you're trying to go into a more advanced class, you need to make sure that you show your skill level and that you're able to take on this higher class without taking the class that's the intro level class before it. So you want to show off your skill level. Preferably, I would say you would probably want a working portfolio, like a working portfolio website to show off your skill, not a social media accounts. Maybe even a LinkedIn if you have LinkedIn, or potentially even a Google Drive showing off like your images of whatever work you have, but just have a way to show your skill level, because the chair does not know you, and does not know your skill level. So they're going to have to find out through information that you provide to kind of see what skill level you're at to either approve or deny your waiver. And oh yeah, let me touch on that, is these waivers can be denied. So this is not 100%. I have not had an issue of being denied yet, but don't take my word on stuff. Or do take my word on stuff, but don't take my word on everything. Also, you need a solid reason to have these waivers approved. Your chair for whatever major will not approve something just because you say, I don't want to take this class. You need to have a solid reason. So I formed the little example down below of how I would kind of fill out a waiver. And I say waiver, but it's kind of just, you're just vouching for yourself as to why your waiver should be approved. So you should have like preferably chair of animation, chair of illustration, or the chair and their name. Introduce yourself. Again, these people don't know you. They don't know your major. They don't know what you're trying to do as a career. Normally, the chairs are pretty understanding of changing your classes and your schedule to allow you to take classes that are more relevant to you. So I did. My name is Claire. I'm an illustration senior, writing to ask if I can course substitute illustration with animation. I found animation better fit for my career path than illustration, as it is a more children's book class, and I want to pursue a career in concept art for animation. So pretty short, just explaining really quickly, and then I have linked below my portfolio in case you need to check my experience and skill level. Blah, blah, blah. And then please let me know if you need any additional information to make your decision. Thank you for your time. And then always have your name and then your ID number. The information, like, please let me know if you need any additional information. They will always reach out if they need any extra stuff to like kind of feel you out as to what your skill level is. And it's sometimes they won't even read that you already linked your stuff, which that can get kind of annoying, but either way, work with them. And if you get your stuff approved, this is kind of what they should look like ish. The top one is a core prerequisite waiver, and then the bottom one is prerequisites. So they kind of look like that. Yeah. But yeah, let me go back. This is not guaranteed. Please, like, don't do this and expect it to be 100%. You have to have a solid case, and if that solid case is solid, I mean, you should be good to go. There shouldn't be a reason as to why your chair would hold back on you and say, no, you're not allowed. And then for freshmen, this might not work on your foundation classes just because foundation classes are built into your schedule. I did not try this out as a freshman, so I have no clue if it'll work or if it won't. So talk to your advisors. Make sure that you're graduating on time when you do this, because these sometimes can screw up your like whatever classes you're taking. So make sure that you're still on track with a lot of things. If you're course substituting, I feel like that's where this comes in. However, it shouldn't mess up things, honestly, but it's always just safe to make sure that you're still graduating on time. Also, it's just like a safe way of going about this if this is your first time doing it. Having someone who should be versatile in like advising would be best to go to. And then make sure you schedule this in advance, because these waivers will take sometimes a week to get back to you. However, you should follow up if it takes a week. That's crazy. But sometimes like they're just busy. They just need a little bit of time, but don't plan on this to be like to get an email back the very next day saying, oh my God, you're approved. So always have a backup if you're registering to make sure that you're not going to get screwed over. Plan ahead, because also sometimes depending on whatever year you're in and how close you are, or how many, I forgot the word, but how many credits, how many credits you have will basically tell you what time slot you have for registration times. So if you have a prerequisite waiver and you really want a 200s class instead of 100s class, that 200s class might be already filled out when it gets to your time, because let's say you're a freshman and you have the 200 level class prerequisite, sophomores and juniors might have already taken that 200 level class and filled it up, because your registration time is much later. So plan ahead. Yes. That went pretty fast. Oh my god. So here are other opportunities and what you might know, not know, and how to get there potentially. So if you guys don't know, we have game capstones. Oh my god. So if you want to go into gaming and you want to grow your portfolio and have some work with collaboration, especially in the gaming field, you might want to reach out to some game majors. Game capstones normally happen within, or game capstones happen within their senior year of ITGM majors. ITGM equals game, basically. But they're always looking for concept artists. They don't have a limit on how many people they accept onto their team, which is really cool. Concept is considered extra help to them, I believe. So you're able to just like kind of find someone, ask if you can join or if they'll have you. They might check your portfolio, of course, first. So make sure you're prepared. But game capstones are a thing. I would recommend maybe joining some discords for game clubs, or just wandering around Monty second floor. There are always people either play testing or just doing stuff. Game majors so far, I mean, from my experience, they're really chill. So feel free to like just approach and like ask them questions. Who knows? But yeah, there's around I want to say 7 teams for this quarter or for this year. Their quarter for the actual creation process starts next quarter as well as spring quarter, so they only have 2 quarters to do this. However, they're already starting to gather their teams right now, so I would recommend kind of hopping on that if you're able to find a team that would take you on. These are great for just like collaboration experience, and since they're seniors and who knows, you might be like a junior, they might be able to help you after they graduate. Who knows? Also animation capstones. So if you have not heard, they do not accept extra help anymore. However, there is a loophole that some people have found. So animation capstones are not allowed extra help throughout the academic year. However, the summer break is not an academic year. So, if you're able to find a capstone that's doing this, you might be able to help out as extra help over the summer instead of during the quarters. Um, of course, you'll have to find like talk to people about this. I don't believe there's any pitching going on though until the next year, so you'll have to wait at least until the end of the spring quarter, or like near the end of the spring quarter, when like people are starting to pitch their capstones, and feel out some like teams that you might want to join and ask like what they're doing. The only but about this is that you might not be credited in the end credits of the film. So if you're fine for just having this on your resume and your portfolio and not having your name on the credits log, that is fine. Like technically you are credited, but you won't be credited because SCAD doesn't want you to be credited. That was a lot of words, but like yeah. There are festival credits though, so you might be able to be added back on for those. However, if it is SCAD related, they might not be able to add you in the credit just for safety, because there can be backlash if someone is credited. It's a lot. Animation has a lot of drama. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving on, there's also, instead of capstones, is SCAD Animation Studios. I've said that before, but if you don't know what this is, again, it's just an in-house studio that SCAD has. However, for this, you'll have to apply for it. So in order to apply, you need a working portfolio and maybe even a resume. They have recently started a game part of this as well. I'm a part of that group, so we're kind of the first the first experiment to see how a game project goes within SCAD Animation Studios. They typically make films, like animated films. However, they're branching out into two different projects. Professor Weber is heading the game project, and then Professor Jonathan Standing, the same guy who's doing the boys concept work, is doing it for the film side. I believe there's always applications that go out near the end of each quarter or near midterms for each quarter to get new members for the next quarter team, because people always are either unable to take the class again because it is considered a class, or they're just in need of new people to join the teams. So I would always just like recommend asking an animation student, or yeah, I would just recommend always asking an animation student if they have a link for the Google form for either projects. And then just like down below, just converse with other majors. It is so great to find opportunities. SCAD kind of sucks with collaboration because they kind of segregate their majors. Kind of weird, SCAD, but SCAD pros are basically not the only opportunities you have at SCAD, especially because SCAD pros are low-key very disorganized and most of the time do not have anything concept related, which is fantastic. But always like ask around. VFX majors also have capstones, so you might be able to kind of get into team collaboration that way. However, it's more exclusive invites for VFX students. But there's also film majors. They might need help with like storyboarding, things like that. And there's also like sequence students who, if you're looking for opportunities to do color or line work, you could always reach out. Other majors are always doing projects or have events that happens. And it's cool to have an opportunity where you're able to basically work with a group of people towards a common goal, and it's a bonus because you get to add stuff to your portfolio and your resume and bump up your network and silent resume. So those are always great. Yeah, that's it. It was, I feel like that was a lot, but also like not enough. If you have any questions or like you want me to clarify anything, feel free to ask, I guess. I have no clue how to turn on voice chat, so this might just need to be typed out. I also don't have Discord up right now, so hang on one second. But I hope this explained a few stuff. SCAD kind of does not share a lot of resources early on, and people normally just find out by themselves, which kind of sucks. So I hope this was useful in any way. Of course, my like tips, tricks, whatever aren't gospel or anything. People go around SCAD, like navigating SCAD in their own ways a lot of the time. This is just what worked with me. Because I'm an illustration student, it's very isolating. So I was able to find my way into animation, and I've been on so many projects because of that, and it's great. So yeah. Um, is it possible to get out of speaking ideas through this? Wait, wait, what? Is it possible to get out of speaking ideas through this? Potentially. I feel like this should work with almost any class except foundations. Um, I don't see why not. I do feel like CTXT, science, math, things like that are a lot harder to get out of because those chairs aren't as understanding as your actual major classes. Like Professor Casey for illustration, so chill. Oh my gosh, she will understand 100% if you want to go down a different class because it'll better suit you career wise in the long run. So I feel like it is a little bit more difficult if you're trying to do that for history and things like that. I tried it for CTXT. I got a hard no. So yeah. Um, Also great to know about foundations. Um, I'll like share this Google slide a little bit later. I feel bad because there's not as much text on it, but I hope it'll still help. I have no clue if we're recording this. I kind of didn't want it to be recorded because I swore a little bit. But yeah, I'll share it in. I'll share it somewhere. I'll ask Allie. Oh, you are. Cool. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Dude. Yo. Okay. Wait. Oh, LOL. I'm so confused. Also wait, guys, look at this funny picture. Okay. That's it.
Oh, one more
Don't
thing. So I'm kind of a loud
looking.
place. I might be. I don't
Huh?
know. But oh, well, I was gonna mention the interest form.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. um, so as we mentioned earlier, so some of you might know, we're planning to have our next contest at Neighborhood Comics. However, there is limited space, so we're kind of trying to gauge how many people are interested in showing up. So we're going to release an interest form tonight, right after this. So anybody who's interested in showing up, please fill that out just so we know. You guys sometimes seem a little allergic to filling out forms. Last at our last contest, I think we had like 20 people in attendance and 60 submissions. So it really helps us out when you guys fill out forms for attendance and stuff like that. But this is just to make sure that we don't storm neighborhood comics and break down their doors. But yeah, that's all.
Allie, where should I put this? Of who will be
Announcements for that,
got you. Yeah.
I think.
Also, to I don't know how to say your name. Linc. Can you iterate again what you mean by credentials you are allowed to put in your resume/portfolio when you're putting in capstone projects that you can't be credited on? Okay, here's the thing. You can put it everywhere. You're just not going to be, you will most likely not be credited in the actual film where they have like the credit sequence. So you'll still be able to do anything you want on your end. However, they are limited, like the capstone team is limited on crediting you because they don't want to get in trouble with SCAD. So I did this with capstone over the summer, and they made it clear that I probably won't be able to be credited in the credits log, like the thing that runs at the end credit. Oh my god, I'm forgetting what it is. But like I won't be in that. However, I can put it anywhere else. Like I could say that I worked on it. But it's just to keep SCAD happy, basically. So, yeah. Yeah. Animation kind of sucks. However, they have a new chair, so maybe it'll be better. We'll see. No hate to Chris Gallagher, but I like Weber a lot.